Right now on KGW News, deadly consequences on our roads.
Feels like the streets of Portland have been really dangerous.
The crashes that have killed 5 people in just 24 hours and the change police hope will stop more dangerous drivers. Also tonight, contamination on the playground. Why hazmat crews are treading cautiously through a Portland park and neighborhood. Then later, Portland shows up for the World Cup.
There's nowhere in the country for women in soccer like the Pacific Northwest.
As a young Thorn star scores not 1, but 2 down under. Thanks for joining us. I'm David Molko, and we begin with a startling uptick in deadly crashes across our area from Portland to Washington County, with some caused by those driving under the influence and others by street racing. In many of those cases, the loss of life, it appears, was entirely preventable. Alma McCarty talked to law enforcement tonight to see what they are doing to try to slow this trend. Alma.
Well, David, Portland police called the number of crashes and the severity of those crashes shocking. Although PPB brought back the Traffic Patrol Division in May, which they believe is making a difference out on the roads, officers still see far too many driving recklessly. That goes for other parts of the area as well.
Early Friday morning in western Washington County, deputies say 76-year-old Constantino Guzman Rojas was riding his bike to work around 5:30 when he was hit by a semi-truck.
There's not really a shoulder out there. The bicycle and truck were essentially sharing the roadway, and it appears that the driver didn't move over far enough.
Guzman Rojas died at the scene, only 30 feet from the New Leaf Greenhouse driveway on Northwest Sussbauer Road. According to his colleagues, he biked to work here nearly every day for 25 years. This deadly crash, one of 3 fatal crashes deputies have responded to just this month.
Throughout the whole year, Washington County has seen a huge uptick in fatal crashes countywide.
Sergeant Josh Wilson says they've investigated 15 so far this year, substantially higher than years past.
I think by the end of this year, if we stay on the pace we're at, we're looking at probably close to 40 fatal crashes.
Over in Portland, police report 42 traffic-related deaths this year, 11 just this month.
It feels like the streets of Portland have been really dangerous.
This wreck, Thursday night on Southeast Powell, claimed the lives of 3 people. Officers believe the crash was the result of street racing. Then, after midnight on Southwest Barber Boulevard, a 2-vehicle crash seriously injured 2 and killed 1.
That was very clearly related to impairment, and that driver not only went to jail for DUI, but also for manslaughter in the first degree. A very, very serious charge.
Sergeant Kevin Allen says PPB's been busy with the Traffic Patrol Division, a team of 12 officers working from 5 p.m. to 3 a.m. 7 days a week to address dangerous driving. The division was reinstated in May after a more than 2-year pause.
We know that is sorely needed, and if we needed any more reminders, it's the devastation that we've seen this month in Portland.
Sergeant Allen acknowledges they have a small team, and long-term, the Bureau wants to build it up to about 2 or 3 dozen officers.
Truthfully, I mean, we know that we can only do so much, but when you're faced with just the grim reality of these terrible crashes, you always wonder, what if?
PPB says while enforcement is a big part of cutting down on fatal crashes, they are pleading with the public to take this stretch of deadly wrecks as a wake-up call, to be mindful about when you are getting behind the wheel and to watch out for others on the road. David?
All of those good reminders. Thank you, Alma. This evening, we are learning more about the man reportedly connected to 4 women who have turned up dead around the Portland area. Willamette Week reporting that in November of last year, one of those women, Ashley Rial, accused Jesse Calhoun of domestic violence. The paper reports that Calhoun is a person of interest and had links to all 4 women, though police have not confirmed that, and Calhoun has not been charged. KGW also obtained court documents that say in 2007, his girlfriend at the time accused Calhoun of grabbing her by the throat to the point she could not breathe. Then a year later said he grabbed her off a bike and dragged her 50 feet across a parking lot. Calhoun was granted early release from prison under Governor Kate Brown. He was arrested for parole violations in June. Let's get you caught up on tonight's other headlines, beginning in Warm Springs, where officials are keeping an eye on a wildfire burning along one of the main routes to Central Oregon. This is off Highway 26 and Highway 9. Officials say the blaze has grown from 20 to 100 acres in just the last few hours, and those living near the Highway 9 and Highway 3 junction are on level 1 get ready evacuation alerts. Highway 26 was closed for a while but has since reopened. You can visit tripcheck.com for the latest updates. In Washington County, we have a traffic alert on Highway 217. From tonight until the end of the month, drivers headed northbound are down to one lane between I-5 and Highway 99. That's a stretch that runs just under a mile there. Crews are adding auxiliary lanes, also known as ramp-to-ramp connections, to reduce bottlenecks there. ODOT says to expect delays along with heavy backups. And Main Street in downtown Vancouver is about to get a makeover. Work is set to start next year on the 10 blocks from 5th to 15th. There's going to be safer intersections for cars and pedestrians and no more curbs, plus new landscaping, outdoor seating, and lots of public art. The cost? About $20 million, with about half covered by funds from the American Rescue Plan. Let's get to the aftermath now of that massive fire that gutted a former Kmart store earlier this week. It turns out some of the ash and debris that rained down in northeast Portland was filled with asbestos, which meant parts of a neighborhood were shut down today as hazmat crews started cleaning up. Daisy Caballero talked to the experts about what to do if you think you're affected.
Yeah, not planning on running around in the yard anytime soon.
This is what people in the Park Rose neighborhood are left picking up. Chunks of debris and ash that traveled all the way from the abandoned Kmart building that caught fire on Wednesday. Something the Oregon Department of Environmental Quality says contains asbestos in the park.
I think that it would be best to say that people in this area should be cautious.
That means avoiding directly touching, sweeping, moving, or vacuuming the debris. It will look like this, ash-like paper chunks that easily crumble into fibers. Experts say if you breathe in high amounts of asbestos for a long period of time, it can cause respiratory issues 10 to 40 years down the line.
You may want to take a hose and gently soak your yard. That keeps the material tamped down and doesn't become airborne.
And that's exactly what Kristen Poe did.
You know, it's pretty windy out here, and I didn't want it blowing around, blowing closer to our house, falling apart.
Poe was home when the fire broke out. She describes hearing the debris chunks falling on her back patio, not knowing exactly what it was at the time.
There were basically like dinner plate sized chunks scattered all around.
Like many in her neighborhood, Poe has a vegetable garden, but is now left with no other choice than to completely scrap all her hard work.
There's neighbors with much larger, more productive gardens around here, and you know, I feel bad if they're going to make the decision to scrap it, and I also feel uncomfortable if they're not and they're just going to go ahead and eat it, because there's just so much that we don't know.
Daisy Caballero, KGW News.
A lot of questions tonight. DEQ officials say they will continue air sampling tomorrow and have results and updates available over the coming days at Oregon.gov.